Our 40 days, 40 items challenge has been in full flow through March and April. And thousands of people in our communities have had huge successes. Some decluttering way more than the 40 items intended. But is a one item a day strategy sustainable? In today's podcast, we're going to discuss the pros and cons of decluttering one item per day.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook.
Leslie, can you believe it? Tomorrow is the last day of the 40 days, 40 items challenge, and it's just been absolutely fabulous, as is the challenge every year. We've run it for a few years now, and we just love it. It's just so positive, isn't it?
It is so positive. It's been incredible to see all the fantastic progress. Honestly, it must be tens of thousands of items that have gone out of the door, and that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it, Ingrid? We've done the 40 days, 40 items challenge across all of our communities this year. So it's taken place on Instagram, in our Facebook group, on our YouTube, and of course in our membership forum. And everybody has been getting behind the 40 days, 40 items challenge because I guess it's simple. It's a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do really today was to talk about the benefits of using that one item a day strategy and whether that is going to serve you in the long term. So, because a lot of people will be like, you know what, that really suited me and I'm going to carry on with that. And we indeed have people who started the 40 days, 40 items challenge in 2022 that are still going strong and things like that. And so we have a one thing a day thing going on in our membership forum all of the time for people who want to do that. So is that something that is useful and sustainable and is going to be the right strategy for everybody? So first of all, we wanted to talk about the benefits of a one item a day strategy. And then we're going to talk about there's nothing negative about it, is there? There's no problem with it, but there might be other things that might suit better or help you make progress a little bit better. So we're going to do the positives and then we're going to do the negatives afterwards.
Yes, exactly. So start with one of the positive things of doing one item per day. It's very manageable. It's a manageable approach. You don't have to use pressure. You can find one thing, as when you look at a whole room and you're like, oh no, what? This is going to take hours or days. And then you start to feel overwhelmed and you're like, oh, this is far too much. It's far too big. One item a day suddenly feels like, oh, I can do this. This feels like a manageable approach. I can find one item in my house somewhere that can help me towards doing the one thing a day. So I think that's why it gives it takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does, and it also gives you the opportunity to build upon that as well, I think, Ingrid. So yes, we start off with something that's very manageable, that doesn't feel overwhelming, and then we get into a habit of going, oh, actually, I might do a little bit more because I've actually seen something else as well. And so it gives you the opportunity to build upon that one item a day. And that is definitely what a lot of people have been doing. You know, people have been going for one bag a day. They've been doing whole drawers when they found one thing. So it definitely allows you to build that momentum. And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we get a lot of questions, don't we, at the beginning of the 40 days for ourselves. Is it like one item per day? But you see that people who've done it before, like, yeah, yeah, but you probably find something else as well. Or you get the question, well, I found 2 days. Can I use my other item for tomorrow? And it's like, it, you know, we don't have super strict rules, but what we want is that people get into the habit of thinking about decluttering every day and taking that little action step on it, and to build those really good foundations of that all or nothing approach, I need to have a whole weekend off to do this. No, you don't. Start with one thing, and then that little decluttering muscle that's there is growing and building over time as well. So that's why I think we love it so much, and it's such a great way to get started, especially if you've been really struck down with that overwhelm, that panic, and that anxiety, and all of those things.
Yeah, definitely. It allows you to build those habits up. And that's what this is all about, really, because, we want everybody to get to a stage where decluttering doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It feels like something that you are building into your daily routines. So for Ingrid and I, yeah, every now and again, we'll do a big decluttering project. But most of the time, we will be decluttering on a consistent basis throughout every month without even really thinking about it.
Yeah.
We'll just see something and go, that can go, don't need that anymore. And so we don't even think about it necessarily as decluttering. It's just part of our daily chores. And so we want to start building those habits in, we're the same with resets and things, because some people don't have the habits of resets firmly sort of, stuck in right at the beginning. Once they start, they realize that once it becomes habit, you don't have to think about it anymore. So that's what this is about. So yeah, absolutely. Habit building is a big part of the success of the 40 items challenge.
Absolutely. And I think what is really nice as well, when you do something every day, it just becomes part of your, I don't know, just how can I explain this, Leslie? I think a lot of people see decluttering as something that they have to do, and that's like hard, and they don't feel like it, and they have to build up upon it and all of those things. Well, if you kind of go, well, I just have to find one thing, it starts to kind of become part of the fabric of life. And it's not something that you have to worry about all the time. And we don't even say in the 40 days for the challenge, you have to do a hard item, or you have to do that room, or you have to, we've given loads of examples of different things that we have done and why we've decluttered it, but we've really left it very open for people to decide for themselves. And if you've always struggled with a lot of clutter and with letting go of items, maybe your item a day was, I've got a box here that I kept to the side for something. And people, otherwise people say, well, that's just recycling. But if for that person it was a hard decision, it counts. It's all about the emotions that sit behind the items, and not the stuff itself. And I think that's why we leave it so open to interpretation of people. And maybe that's why a lot of people also really come on board, because they really like that kind of looser structure.
Absolutely. And I think, we're big. It's one of the things that we talk about in our book. Every chapter of our book has got a quote, a sort of motivational quote, if you want to call it, associated with it. And one of them is progress, not perfection. That's a big
Mm,
one. And we really sort of always sit behind that. And the 40 days, 40 items challenge, or one thing a day, or whatever kind of one thing a day you're doing, allows you to continually make progress. And that gives you a massive mental boost. So that's what this is all about. And that's why it can be such a powerful tool to have in your
mm,
arsenal.
yeah.
I think one of the things as well with, specifically with our challenge, or with other kind of community challenges, or challenges that are done in Facebook groups and things like that, is that sense of community is very, very strong, isn't it? And very powerful, very motivating. So to see other people, if you're struggling a little bit, or you forget one day, and then to see a post saying, do you know what, I wasn't having a great day today, but I actually let go of this one thing. And you're like, "Oh, if that person can do it, I can do it." It's highly motivating to do that with a community around you, isn't it? So I think
Yeah.
that the sense of community within the 40 days, 40 items challenge, can't be underestimated, because it is very powerful. We see that in our own membership communities. Every community around the world, it brings, everybody's working towards this one common goal, aren't they?
Mm. Yes, I completely agree with that, Leslie. And I think also, and you said, if that other person can do it, I can do it. But also, when somebody posts, oh, I just wasn't up for it yesterday. So today I've done two items. You haven't fallen off the wagon. You haven't, you've not. Sometimes life gets in the way, and okay. Oh, this other person as well forgot her just like me, but I'm not like a lost cause all of a sudden. I could just go, right, well, less that didn't happen. I've done it today now, and just for good measure, I found another one to make up for yesterday. And when you see somebody else doing that as well, it's just like, how do you call that? Shared,
Like shared experience, you mean? Shared.
yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like problem. What's it like? A problem halved is a
A
problem solved.
problem. Yeah.
I
A
am
problem
so
shared is a
rubbish.
problem halved. What is it? A
Yeah,
problem shared. I don't even know. No, you're
why
making me.
can I never do
A
like
problem shared is a problem solved.
yes,
A problem
exactly.
shared is that it?
I don't
I
know.
can-
I'm sorry. I'm always so rubbish with things like that. But you know what I mean, right? Because if you see somebody else who's struggling, it's where you're like, oh, yeah, but no worries. Just do an extra one today. Or that's why we gave the Sunday off, right? When we said, okay, we're doing it every day of the week, but not Sunday. So you get a chance to either catch up or maybe go, I'm going to find one or two extra items, or I'm having a rest day today. There's no right or wrong way. You've not completely abandoned ship if you forgot 2 days, right? It's all about being in it together, feeling part of something bigger, having fun together, laughing about some of the items that people find and they share and the amazing stories. That's I love it. I know. Oh, that feels really sad, doesn't it? It makes me insanely happy if I see people just
Yeah, so it's just the volumes, I guess, isn't it? The volumes that are going out, and that's got to be a massive thing. And I
why
think
am I nearly crying, Leslie? I'm like, I'm
I'll
so
be
crazy.
crying about the 40 days, 40 items
I
challenge,
know, but
Ingrid, honestly.
it's the feeling, isn't it? It's the
The feeling of
feeling
progress, I
of
think.
progress, of belonging to something, of being part of something. I love that. Yeah.
Yes, good, Ingrid. We're glad
Yeah.
that you're happy and we're glad that you're
Yeah.
shedding a tear over the
I
40
know.
days, 40 items challenge. The last thing we wanted to talk about, and there are many, many benefits, but one of the things that we wanted to talk about was the fact that some people love a game. Some people love the ticking off a list. Some people love the fact that it's day 6 and I'm gonna, declutter my 6 items. So gamification for a lot of people is a big thing. If you're that person who does your crosswords puzzles every day, you don't want to sort of fall off the wagon a little bit. You want to carry on, and that's a huge motivator for a lot of people. So gamification like that, simple gamification is
Yeah.
a real motivator, and that can't be underestimated either. So yeah, so once we sort of look at the fact that we're breaking things right down into manageable chunks, just one item a day, the stakes are not that high, we can manage that. We're building fantastic sustainable habits. We're getting decluttering into our everyday world, which is where it really needs to be, so we can continue to make that progress throughout the rest of our lives. As stuff comes in, stuff needs to go out. And so decluttering needs to be there all of the time, which kind of people are like, oh, that sounds awful. It's important to do things with a sense of community. You do things in a group like this, or you do things that are a game. It's important to have other people around you to motivate you and to give you that accountability as well. And of course, gamification that we've spoken about is a big motivator for a lot of people. So as we combine all those things together within the 40 days, 40 items challenge, that leads to huge successes. So you may be that person who's thinking, do you know what? I'm going to carry on. This is working for me. Fantastic. But some people will have started to fall off the wagon a little bit and not be quite as excited and motivated by the 40 days, 40 items challenge, or not see that they're making all the progress that they want to, or see that there's still a big mountain to climb. So what about you if that is you? We're going to go to a short break now. We're going to pop back and we're going to talk about alternatives to a one item a day strategy.
Welcome back after your break. So before the break, we talked about all of the wonderful things that having a one item a day strategy can really benefit and how it can help you. But now, Leslie, let's talk about the cons.
I think, Ingrid, with any decluttering, there is not a one size fits all, right? Different things are going to resonate with different types of people all the time. And, when we are, so like when we're working as professional organizers, when we're working inside the Declutter Hub, we have our core methodology that we use as the clutter fairy, as you use as organize your house. We have our core reset your home methodology that we use within the Declutter Hub that we talk about here on the podcast and things like that. But we also look at different situations and different people and different scenarios and look at different strategies within that core framework to build upon. So the 40 days, 40 items challenge does not deviate from what we're trying to do in the Declutter Hub, but it's not our core methodology, right? That's the thing. So sometimes if you want a little change, if you want to do something different, if something's not working, you've got bored or fed up with something, we need to think about little splinter ideas that are going to work. And I would definitely see this one item a day as being more of a splinter methodology, if that's the right kind of terminology, than being a core decluttering methodology. So why does it not work for many, many people? Now, I think it's fair to say, Ingrid, that in our communities in general, in the Declutter Hub communities across the board, most people have had a long or lifelong struggle with clutter. So we're talking about people who struggle with the emotional connection to clutter, people who struggle with the volumes of clutter that they've got in their house, people who feel completely overwhelmed. Different people are at different stages of their journey. So some people have nailed that, are getting through their journey and things like that. So everyone's at a different stage. But generally, we're not talking about people who can set to on a weekend and go, I'm going to declutter my house now, job done. We're talking about people who are like, oh, that's a little bit hard, don't know, I'm overwhelmed, I'm struggling, don't know where to go, that room looks terrible. So, we are talking about a certain type of people within our communities. And so what we see then within somebody who does genuinely struggle is that sometimes just going down this one thing a day sort of scenario might not work. And I think that one of the big reasons for it, Ingrid, is all about momentum, right?
Yes, absolutely, Leslie. I think momentum is really, really important when you're in the decluttering and organizing journey. And that one item a day might not give you enough momentum to keep going and to stay engaged and to think of this as a process and not a project. So I think the momentum can then dwindle and then you feel like stuck again, right? So you're kind of that momentum, the building up momentum is really important when you're in decluttering and organizing journey because you're changing a lot of things. It's not about the stuff, it's about it's your mindset that needs to change as well. And if you're just thinking one item per day, it doesn't go out to, oh, I actually need to get into a flow here. It needs to be part of my life. I need to think in a wider context. What are the benefits for me? So it can kind of then, instead of helping you, it can kind of the momentum can kind of fall down a bit again.
I think one of the big things as well, Ingrid, when you talk about momentum and the thing that's going to keep that momentum high is the kind of visibility of success,
Yeah.
visibility of change. And so, it's for good reason that before and after pictures, for example, and transformational pictures are a big part of the decluttering world because people need to see that big transformation, which motivates you forward, gives you the momentum to carry on. And if all you're doing is removing one item at a time, you don't necessarily get that visible change that's going to
Yeah.
kind of prompt you forward. Now, it's fair to say that the 40 days, 40 items challenge absolutely gave people the momentum. And once they'd done one item, they wanted to do more. And we talked about before the break, people were doing whole drawers or were cracking on and doing the whole wardrobes and things like that. So it can be a great starting point. But if you stick to that one item a day strategy, then it may not give you enough to keep that momentum high. And that's very, very important. I think also equally, Ingrid, I think that you need to look at your own behaviors in terms of shopping and accumulation of items. So it sounds really good to do one item a day, but we need to look at what's coming in. If you're a shopper, if you love to do that retail therapy, you go, you buy a few things every week, how much stuff is coming into your home? And is your one item a day going to counterbalance that? I think it's really important to have that element of realism to know that one item a day, I mean, it's better if you've got 10 items coming in and no items going out. It's better to have 10 items coming in and one item going out, to be fair.
Hmm.
But are you going to be able to make that progress if the rate at which things are coming into your house is greater than the rate at which things are going out of your house?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is also very much connected to the one in, one out rule, right? Which sounds great and works good for people who are not struggling with lots of clutter. But if you're only doing a one in, one out rule when the volumes of clutter are really high and it's really making you feel downtrodden and overwhelmed and stressed and full of anxiety, that balance is askew. So you have to really then think, okay, I need to actually look at what comes in, but actually also the volumes that go out need to be higher because I want the volume in my house to go down. And with a one item a day, like you said before, you don't have that visibility enough because the one item a day might not be enough to actually see the clutter going down.
Absolutely. I think as well, Ingrid, even though it seems, and we talked before the break about the ability, the positive benefits of being able to break things down into manageable chunks and only make a decision on one thing a day. But equally, if you do that every single day and you are working on your decluttering every day, it can, of course, lead to decision fatigue because you've still got to find what is typically a random item, yeah, and make a decision on it. And sometimes we need to go through the whole process of decision making. So it's not just about what can I, there's so much more that goes into it than just what can go out. We need to think about our emotional connection to that thing and what it is that's making us want to keep it. And so I think it's important to recognize that if you're trying to make a decision that's not kind of linked up to all of the other thought processes that we talk about, certainly in the Declutter Hub, that it can eventually lead to decision fatigue because you're just needing to make kind of disparate decisions about things,
Yeah.
kind of on their own, singular
Yeah.
decisions about something, rather than looking at it as a whole and recognizing, I need to get rid of that because the reason why because I've recognized that I feel a lot of guilt about something, and that's one of a collection of items that I'm keeping because of guilt, or that's one of a collection of items I'm keeping out of sentimentality or worry, or feeling that a memory belongs to somebody else, or whatever those things are.
Yeah.
It focuses too much, Ingrid, on the stuff which is so at odds with our methodology, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we are very much an emotions first, stuff second methodology. That's what we stand behind. That's what our Reset Your Home roadmap is all about. Our Reset Your Home book, our Reset Your Home challenges, all of that is emotions first, stuff second. And if you're just for trying to find one item a day, the very first chapter in our book talks about this, that people focus too much on the items and not on the actual emotional connection, then you've not got a fully rounded process. I think that's the problem for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as well, Leslie, um, I think it's interesting because I think what the people that a lot of people do is go for the no-brainers, which
Yeah.
of course is fantastic. But what we have been trying to teach in our membership for over 6 years now is exactly what you're saying. You need to look at the things that are holding you back to really make those breakthroughs in your mindset. And how are you going to change things moving forward? We cannot change the past. It's just impossible. But we can change where we are now and where we are going. And by just doing the obvious no-brainers and going, well, I'm going to throw this box out anyway because it's recycling. I'm going to use that for my one day. It sounds great in the moment, but you really want to start thinking about, okay, I want to change my life, the way I see things, the way I spend my time with which people. How do I figure out what I love doing in my life? Which people are important to me? That's what you get when you really, really start to dig deep in those emotions. And if you've got a lot of clutter, that's what you need to do. And the 40 days, 40 hours challenge is a great way to kind of jump on that train, but you then need to have strategies that you'll find in our membership to help you go, okay, how am I going to do this long term, in depth?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's about that. It's definitely about that understanding, isn't it, of your why? There's
Yeah.
so many things involved in it. So all of the things that we talk about in terms of methodology, for the 40 days, 40 items, they're all missing, right?
Yeah.
You've not thought about your big picture goal. You've not broken it. You have broken it down into manageable chunks, to be fair, but not section by section. We're not gathering like with like. We're not thinking about necessarily thinking about the storage and the organizational side of things. The donation, just the charity shop's going to get a random assortment of things, which is absolutely fine. And so a lot of the things that we teach in terms of that well-rounded strategy get stripped away with the 40 days, 40 items challenge. And before we finish, I think the one thing that we want to say then, is that if you've got large decluttering projects, if your house is overwhelmed with stuff, or you feel overwhelmed with the volumes of stuff in your home, then the 40 days, 40 items challenge is only a kickstart. You have to dig deeper. Really, really important. Now, it sounds like, we were super positive, of course, about the 40 days, 40 items challenge before the break. It sounds like we've gone on a bit of a Debbie Downer with the 40 days, 40 items challenge. But we just want to reiterate that this is a fantastic tool to sit alongside other decluttering
Yeah.
strategies. So we're not saying, because everyone's like, oh, I've just done it. I've done an amazing job. And now he's saying it's rubbish.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying at all. Like we absolutely, this is the reason why we run it every year, because people love it. People jump on board. It is that kickstart that a lot of people need to kind of start to fall in love with decluttering, because we do it in such a manageable process. But we just want to sort of talk about the fact that there is other ways.
Yeah.
We talked about the fact that in our membership there was, and it's not our. So what happens in our membership? We have member challenges that we run from time to time. And I think it was last year or maybe even the year before, Ingrid, one of our members came to us and said, we're loving, because they started a 40-day, 40 items thread. We're absolutely loving it. Do you mind if we continue? So of course, it's not our core methodology. So it's not that it wasn't endorsed by us, but it wasn't going to be run by us, because we think that people should be focusing in different areas on the roadmap and things like that. But we were quite happy for that to sit alongside of all
Yeah.
our other decluttering methodology and teachings, because we wouldn't really have a job if we just said, just declutter one item a day. That doesn't really involve much expertise to get to that point, really.
Hmm.
But it does sit really nicely alongside other things.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think now that we're getting to the end of the 40 days, 40 items challenge, I think it's time for you to sit and evaluate the successes that you've had, what you found out. Obviously, in every video that we did in the 40 days, 40 items challenge, we explained our why. We tried to go into the emotional side of things as well, to give you some teachings as well. Think about what resonated with you. Did you learn anything from that teachings? And do you think realistically that that is going to be enough to keep you going to the decluttering goals that you have?
Yeah. Well said, Leslie, honestly. And I think that is so true. And I think that's why, because doing a challenge together is super motivating, is fun, but we really now want you to look at your own house, at your own situation, and go, okay, what are my next steps? What's my big picture goal? Will I get there by keeping doing one item a day? Do I need more support? Do I need more help? Do I actually need to really reevaluate a lot of things in my life? And can I do this by myself, or do I need to have more help? Do I need to maybe come into Leslie's English membership? Because I've realized actually now, because I've done the one item a day, the blinkers have fallen off a little bit. The clutter blindness that I had was like really high, but now by just looking for that one item per day, I suddenly think, oh my gosh, I've got a lot more to do. And you're now thinking, wow, I now want to take that next step, that next level. I want to dive into it. Maybe you've already read our book and you're thinking, actually, yeah, the book was a fantastic tool as well. But now I need to go deeper and I really want to sort this out. Maybe now it's time for you to check out their membership and go, actually, I'm going to look into becoming a monthly, quarterly, or annual member, because this is my priority. And I've felt through the 40 days, 40 items challenge that every day just having a little bit less makes me so happy. I want to have that feeling. I want to have that freedom. I want to have that space. I want to feel that I'm in control. And the less clutter there is, the more you will feel that. And it will, the decluttering journey has got its ups and downs. It's not smooth sailing. You will have a tough day every once in a while. And that's why we're here in the membership, to help you with our other fantastic members who understand you. So definitely, if you're like, right, I am there, come and check it out. Go to members.declutterhub.com and we'll put it in the show notes as well. Or if you got a question, just reach out to us and we can talk it through with you, because we know how amazing it is to have less clutter. So anyway, I know that was kind of a bit of a passionate plea, wasn't it, Leslie? But anyway, listeners, thank you so much for being here. We hope that this podcast episode has made you think, because that's what we want. We know we always try to bring you lighthearted fun, but we really, our mission in life is also to really kind of make you think, evaluate, start to look at things from a different point of view. And if that's what we've done today, we are very, very happy. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.